Hey guys, it's aquaisyummy. Today I'm going to be doing another ranking video, but this time on all the builds I tried out in my series Destroying Diamond with Dumb Stuff. The season's about to start January 8th, so just want to go through all the builds, seeing which ones are actually good and which ones you should just never play with. In the first episode, I tried out Dark Harvest with the Collector combo. This is so that you can delete them if they're at like 50 HP or something, or I mean 50% HP. And overall, it's a decent build just because Collector is so strong, but the thing is Dark Harvest has been nerfed so many times these past seasons that it's just not that good of a rune anymore, and if you don't pop off early game, it's so useless. So, I mean, I just put it like at a B tier maybe. You can go it is viable, but it's definitely not the best by far. Alright, in the second episode, went Omni Stone, for the love of God. Don't play Omni Stone. This thing is just awful. Rengar can use a bunch of different keystones, but Omni Stone is just such a bad keystone. In the third episode, I tried going Whip into Lethality. This is like the closest you could get to Season 10 Rengar going T-Mat into Dustblade. But because Whip is a mythic component, you can't build another mythic, and you delay your mythic for a very long time, which is why this build is really bad. And even if you do go Lethality, like all their Lethality items first, you still can't one-shot someone completely most of the time, so honestly I put it at C tier. You really need to get your mythic first. It's a mythic meta right now. Alright, in the next episode, I went Goredrinker with Ravenous top lane with Grasp, and this is definitely a really strong pick. I'm pretty sure Dakar always goes Ravenous and most of the time goes Goredrinker. Could be wrong, but Goredrinker is definitely really good on Rengar still. I'm not sure if it's getting nerfed or not, but just because Goredrinker is so strong and Ravenous works really well with top Rengar because you just delete waves and you get that lifesteal. It's really nice. So if you do go top Rengar, the Goredrinker Ravenous build is definitely a top tier build that I suggest you guys go. Alright, in the next episode, I tried out Divinesunder into a Bruiser build. The Bruiser build really can just be anything. Its just main focus is the Divinesunder. Divine is a pretty strong item. I think it has like the best mythic passive. It gives Armor Pen and Magic Pen, which is really nice. Rengar's W is magic damage, so you do make use of all of the stats it has. And just because Goredrinker is so strong, I probably wouldn't say that Divinesunder is better, but it definitely is a really strong item. So if you guys enjoy having that Sheen proc and that tankiness, it's definitely a really good build for top lane. Not really sure if you could go jungle though, because it's more of a trading item, and in the jungle you're generally just gonna want to go Goredrinker or damage mythic. Alright, next, the Kraken Slayer into Collector. Now, Kraken Slayer is just such a strong item in general. A lot of ADCs are building it, it just gives so much damage, but Rengar gets kited pretty easily, so sometimes it is hard to get that the last auto from the, because you have to auto 3 times to get the bonus damage. So Rengar's combo has 2 auto attacks built in, so I mean, it's an okay item. You're just so squishy, and the build components into Kraken Slayer are just really bad for Rengar. It's like a bunch of attack speed and crit that you have to waste money on, when most of the time you just want damage and lethality for early game. So I'd honestly put it in C tier. Maybe it's a little better than the Whip into lethality legendary items, but it's definitely nothing too crazy. The next one is Dustblade Collector. Now, this is actually probably the build I'll be going when Season 11 starts. I'll probably stick with this build in the beginning, and if I feel like it's weak or not, then I may switch to Scrub Noob's build, which is Eclipse into Essence Reaver. The thing is, Collector and Essence Reaver are both amazing second items, but apparently people on Reddit did the calculations, and Essence Reaver is actually more damage for the amount of gold for second item. But you could definitely still get Collector second item. They're both just really strong, and Collector does give some lethality, which is really nice. So this is probably the build I'm going. It's probably not the best build right now, but probably say it's like high A tier, low S tier maybe. Maybe I just need to play with it more. Also, the legendary passive from Dustblade is more CDR, which is really nice. And it's really hard to get CDR on crit Rengar in my experience. Like, you're only gonna have that Essence Reaver if you go Eclipse instead, because Eclipse doesn't give CDR, which kind of sucks. And even though this doesn't have any Omnivamp like Eclipse, you can just go Ravenous, the healing one, out of the Domination tree, and then you pretty much get the same amount of Omnivamp as if you went Eclipse. It's still pretty insane. Alright, next is Halo Blades. This keystone is really strong with like any crit build, because the thing is, you can't really one-shot with Rengar like in like 0.0 seconds. So the Halo Blades helps you get that last auto off, so you can finish them off with the empowered Q after your combo. And this keystone is definitely good, but I overall still prefer Conquer, but this keystone is definitely viable, so I'd put it at A tier. It feels really nice to play with. You do lack some damage, I feel like, in skirmishes, because you don't have that Conquer stacked up, but it's still not bad in skirmishes. Probably better early game than Electrocute, I'd say, maybe. Next, we got the Goredrinker Ravenous build in the jungle. This is definitely really strong, but with the Rengar buffs on the W, clearing the jungle is a lot easier, so you aren't forced into Ravenous and Goredrinker, which is really nice. I'd still say it's a top tier build, just because Goredrinker is so strong on Rengar, and the Ravenous Goredrinker build is just really a good fit on Rengar. Lets you get out a good amount of damage and survive. So I'd still say put it in S tier. Scrubnoob was playing with it before, but I think he started to migrate to a crit build, because you can't really 1v9 with this build, since you can't one-shot to anyone. So if you like playing bruiser type builds, then definitely would recommend Goredrinker into Ravenous in the jungle. Alright, next we got the Whip mythic item. I mean, I had a lot of fun playing with this item, but I still don't think it's better than Goredrinker or the other damage mythics like Dustblade and Eclipse, so probably just put it at A tier. Honestly, I put it on par with Divinesunder, just because both items kind of serve the same purpose, and they both work really well. The dash is really nice. If they had, yeah, no, they're just solid mythic items if you want to go them. Alright, next we've got the Eclipse and Collector. Now this can be swapped out for like Eclipse and Essence Reaver, and it's definitely really strong. This is what Scrubnoob's going at the moment. He builds, yeah, Eclipse into Essence Reaver, and he's been tearing up even in Challenger, so it's definitely an S tier build as well. Just because if Scrubnoob's, most of the time, Scrubnoob is always going the best build, and he's been testing out a lot of stuff, so I honestly think Eclipse into Essence Reaver is probably the strongest build right now. It just does so much damage and lets you carry as Rengar. You are really squishy though, so you do have to play like Season 10 Rengar. Next we got the Dopamine build, which is Eclipse into Ravenous into Bork, I believe. I think that you can switch it up a bit, but that's the core build. And I mean, this build is good, but it doesn't really excel in anything. You can't really one-shot that well, and you are still extremely squishy, so I put it at A tier just because, out of respect for Dopamine. Didn't really play with it that much, so maybe you have to have a certain playstyle with it. Alright, next is the Gale Force into Essence Reaver. Really, Essence Reaver and Collector second item. You can go like almost any mythic and it'll be viable. And Gale Force is just, it's definitely a really fun item on Rengar, but the stats that it gives aren't that good for him. You get a bunch of attack speed, and just, I think the legendary passive is like movement speed or attack speed, which isn't really good for Rengar. Rengar just wants damage. So I put it at A tier, just because they buffed Gale Force so much that you pretty much will always have the active for fights, which is really nice. If the item gave more AD and less attack speed, this item would definitely be S tier, but for now it just chills in A tier with everything else. Alright, next, Prowler's Claw into a Lethality build. Now, Prowler's Claw is definitely not the best for Rengar because it doesn't really synergize with this kit that well. The only time you'll be using it is once you land out of your one-shot combo, which is pretty nice, but your damage won't be, the beginning part of your combo won't be amplified by the active, which really sucks. I don't know, but when I played this, it still felt really solid. It's just a more damaged Gale Force, but I feel like Gale Force overall is still better just because it's so much more versatile and it gives you a head start into the crit build. So I'd probably put Prowler's Call at low A, maybe high B tier. Next we got Shieldbow and Ravenous Hydra. I mean, it could be a good build, but the thing is, there's so much CC in the game, and the new mythic items, they're just so much damage that Rengar can easily get blown up. So, I mean, Shieldbow does help with that, but overall, Shieldbow doesn't really give that much early presence, like, compared to all the other mythic items which give lethality. All Shieldbow does is help you survive, so maybe if you're against like an Olaf, Shieldbow would be pretty good. You could probably win a 1v1 that way, but overall, I don't really see many scenarios where Shieldbow is better than any other mythic, so I'd probably just put it at B tier. Overall, my predictions for the best builds for Season 11 are going to be your Scrub Noobs build, which again is Eclipse into Essence Reaver, or you could go Collector and then into Crit, because Crit is really strong on Rengar, helps you one-shot people and carry the game. And if you're going to want to go a Bruiser build, I'd generally say just go Goredrinker, just because it's such a strong item, into maybe Ravenous and then other Bruiser items depending on the game. Dustblade will also be pretty strong as an alternate to Eclipse, so you can always go that instead. And then all the other items are viable on Rengar. You guys can go it if you want, but generally I'm probably only going to be sticking with these S tier builds and seeing how far I can climb with that. Also, I'll be streaming on YouTube on Friday for the start of the new season. I'll be playing on a new account, so if you guys want to drop in and see how my climb to Challenger is going, feel free to. I'm guessing I can get to Challenger in maybe a month. I'm not really sure. I haven't really tried to climb at the beginning of the season, so I guess we'll see. If you guys have any disagreements, please leave them down in the comment section below. I'd love to talk about it and find out which builds truly are the best for Season 11. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed, please make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time.